There's a difference between being alone and feeling alone. Being alone is a room with the door closed. Feeling alone is standing in a crowd and realizing no one sees you. Most of us learn that difference the hard way. I've always been a quieter person, so for as long as I can remember, being alone in my room has felt natural to me. Playing video games, staying inside, existing in my own space, that's what I enjoyed. And for a long time, I thought that was all being alone was meant to be. Loneliness doesn't always announce itself loudly. It doesn't always look like tears of silence or isolation. Sometimes it looks like comfort, sometimes it looks like routine. Sometimes it looks like doing what you've always done and slowly realizing it doesn't feel the same anymore. Loneliness is not just the absence of people, it's the absence of connection. My room has been a lot of things to me. It's where I've played games online with my mates, laughing through a headset late into the night. But it's also where I've laid in bed alone with my own thoughts, where the noise stopped, where the distractions faded, where I've had quiet, sad moments, lying there, crying, feeling things that I didn't know how to explain to anyone else. And when loneliness stays too long, it can start to change the way we think, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we see the world. This is where depression often enters. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but quietly, like a shadow that grows longer at the end of the day. Depression doesn't always mean constant sadness. Sometimes it's numbness. Sometimes it's exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. Sometimes it's feeling like you're watching your own life through glass. Present, but not participating. Loneliness feeds that feeling. It whispers that you're disconnected because you're different. That reaching out would only bother people. That if you disappeared for a while, nothing would really change. Those thoughts can feel convincing, but convincing doesn't mean true. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Humans are wired for connection. Not in a poetic way, in a biological way. Our brains developed around community, shared stories, shared meals, shared survival. So when connection fades, the mind doesn't just feel sad, it feels threatened. It doesn't mean you're weak for feeling lonely, it means you're human. But here's the part that might surprise you. There is a version of aloneness that is necessary. A version that helps you hear your own thoughts without interruption. A version that lets you rest instead of perform. A version that teaches you who you are when no one is watching. Being alone can be healing. It can teach you independence. It can build self-trust. It can give you space to grow. And for people like me, people who are naturally quieter, that alone time can feel especially important. It's familiar, it's safe, but solitude is like fire. In the right amount, it warms you. In too much, it burns. The problem isn't being alone. The problem is staying there too long. Because when isolation becomes routine, the mind starts filling in the silence with stories. And not all of them are kind. It tells you that no one would understand, that your absence wouldn't be noticed, that connection is for other people, not you. And the longer you believe those stories, the harder it becomes to reach out. Not because you don't want connection, but because you're tired of hoping. That's why, as good as alone time can be, it can't be the only thing. Your world doesn't have to be limited to your room. Make time to go out with your friends, find something to do together, but more importantly, find a real group of friends. A group where you can be yourself, where you don't have to act, where you can laugh without forcing it. This is why keeping in touch matters. Even when it feels awkward, even when it feels unnecessary, even when your brain tells you it's not worth it. Connection doesn't have to be a deep conversation at midnight. Sometimes it's just going out, sharing a moment, creating memories that don't feel important at the time, but become important later. Whenever you go out with your friends, make sure that when you're on your way back home, you don't regret what you did the time you had with them. Because those moments, those memories, they matter more than we realize. It's easy to think that you need to feel better before you see people, but often seeing people is what helps you feel better. Not instantly, not magically, but slowly. Like light returning to a room, one window at a time. When you're lonely, your world shrinks, your thoughts loop, your perspective narrows. Other people expand that world again. That reminds you that your pain isn't the only thing that exists, that time is still moving, that there are moments waiting for you that you haven't lived yet. And yes, sometimes connecting feels exhausting. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it doesn't fix everything, but isolation fixes nothing. You don't need a huge circle. You don't need constant social energy. You don't need to be available all the time. You just need some connection, enough to remind your mind that you are not invisible. Cherishing those moments, holding on to those moments, can be a motivating factor to keep going. And if you're listening to this and thinking, I don't even know where to start, that's okay. Start small. One person, one plan, one shared experience. Loneliness tells you that your presence doesn't matter, but the truth is, it already does, even now. You're allowed to enjoy being alone and still need people. Those two things can exist together. You're allowed to protect your peace and reach out for connection. You're allowed to rest and step outside your comfort zone. Healing isn't choosing between solitude and connection. It's learning how to balance both, to know when to sit with yourself and when to let someone sit with you. So, if you're alone right now, really alone, let this be a reminder. This moment is not your forever. Loneliness is a feeling, not a prophecy. Depression is a weight, not your identity. And connection is not something you have to earn by being better. You are enough as you are, and somewhere, maybe closer than you think, there are people who would notice your absence, value your presence, and make memories with you that remind you why you kept going.